Today in Sumita Roy's English classroom, we have a video on mastering English, and the topic here is public speaking. I'll give you 10 ideas which will help you to become good at public speaking. One of the most important points in learning English is that you are able to speak to a group of people. Public speaking may be a small audience in your own locality or in your own group. It might be a large audience where you might be speaking at your school or college, or you might be speaking at your organization where you are asked to make a speech on a particular occasion. Suppose it is somebody's retirement or somebody has got an award and you are asked to speak about that person. Then you have to do it to a large group of people. And that is where public speaking comes in. So when we learn public speaking, we can practice all what we are learning in the other videos. I'm posting videos regularly on all aspects of English, including literature. Therefore, you can watch the videos and learn all this. Before I begin to tell you about these 10 points of public speaking, let me talk to you about what I say every time, and that is to watch the videos completely. It is no use watching only one point because then you cannot speak well when you have to give a public speech. If you watch 2 or 3 points, you might only get a few ideas. Also, like and share the videos. If you have something to say, please write a comment. As far as possible, the comments are being answered regularly. Then we also have another point, and that is you subscribe to the channel in case you haven't done it already and you are interested in learning English. Let us now begin to talk about these 10 points of public speaking. I have already told you what is public speaking. What are the various contexts in which you might have to give a public speech? If you have joined some political party, you are campaigning for the elections, then almost every day you have to give a speech. Much of it might be in your own language, but there may be situations where you have to speak in English. When you travel around and somebody asks you to speak, you will have to give it in the English language because the place where you have gone, nobody might know your own mother tongue. Therefore, preparing for public speaking in English is important. Now, what are the various points you require? Point number 1 is that you have to develop self-confidence in speaking. Already there is a video on this channel, Speaking Confidently. So once you finish watching this video, I would recommend that you watch that video and practice. Self-confidence would imply that you are able to believe in yourself. When you speak, you feel that, yes, I can do it. If you start with a negative thought that, oh, I can never speak, then you are not going to succeed. Please remember that your success depends on how much faith you have in yourself, how much you believe that you can do it. That is point number 1. So, how will you get self-confidence? Please learn English from the basics. I have given you many videos on the basics of English. So start from there. Even if your English is very good, no harm in watching those videos. And then there is grammar and vocabulary and pronunciation, which you require for speaking. So that is the second point, language competence. When you get language competence, you feel confident to speak. Therefore, you have to, before you start your journey of public speaking, you have to build up the foundation of good language and good self confidence. These are the first 2 points. For each of these 2 points, I would recommend that you watch the videos I have already made. By watching these videos many times, you will get both these points. You will get language competence and you will also get self confidence. In every video, I'm mentioning that even a person who doesn't know any English can learn, because in some videos, I'm just giving you simple sentences. Therefore, please watch, please choose and watch. Now we come to point number 3. I'm going to tell you about 10 points. This is the third point which we are talking about, and that is voice modulation. When you give a speech in public, if you use the same voice throughout, if you don't modulate your voice, if you don't sometimes speak slowly and sometimes fast, speed is important, tone is also important. Sometimes you use a tone which is, loud and clear because you're saying something very important. Sometimes you bring down the tone when you want the listener to pay attention. If you say it very loudly throughout, or if you say it very softly throughout, there is no voice modulation in your public speaking. So you need to change that voice, your speed of speaking, sometimes very fast, sometimes slower. Many of you might use your mother tongue at a speed which is very fast. Some of you might use English at a slower speed. To understand English which others are speaking at a very fast pace, you need to improve your language competence. Point number 2. But here we are not talking about listening. We are only talking about public speaking. Then, use of pauses. Whenever you have a speech to give, you must remember it shouldn't be like a recitation. It is not as though you're reading out something. What you need to do is you need to use a sentence or two sentences or a group of sentences and give a small pause, short halt in your speech, not very long, not very short, as in a full stop or a comma. When you give this pause, what it means is that you are allowing your audience to get familiar with the topic which you have mentioned. You are waiting for them to absorb this into themselves, to think about it, and then you continue. The pause also highlights your point. While writing, we can underline or, we can put it in bold. While speaking, I cannot say, I just now made an important point, I'm underlining that point. In speaking, we can't do that. The pauses you used help us. Your tone variation helps you to highlight. You don't have to bold it. Your tone itself tells you. Now, see, whenever I'm mentioning tone, I'm making my voice loud and I'm using it very slowly. I'm not saying improve your tone. I'm not speaking at that pace. Because in a classroom, we have to go slowly. If you want to hear this fast, you can go to the settings and you can increase the speed. Then you get something which is very fast. This you can do always in order to understand words which are spoken quickly. If you watch the news, if you watch other programs on YouTube or television programs, which many of you might like, where You get speech modulation, different people speaking in a different tone, at a different speed. If you can do this, that'll be very good. Now we move to the fourth of the 10 points. We're going to talk about 10 points. And this is number 4. In public speaking, your body language is very important. You don't have to connect to one person. It is not a conversation where you are talking to just one person. Here are 100 people, 500 people. I remember last year we had a program where there were 1,700 people. So in the hall, there are 1,700 people. On the side of the speakers, there are maybe 4 people. When I stand up to speak to 1,700, I need to keep my body language in such a way that all the 1,700 feel as though you are talking to each one of them. Many of you might forget to look at the entire audience. Even if you have 20 people in the room, even if you have 100 people in the room, you need to have eye contact with them. In a big hall, as I said, 2,000 people are there. It is difficult for eye contact, but you can shake your head, you can move your head from side to side so that you are covering the entire hall. Everybody in the hall is able to feel as though you are addressing them. Posture is also very important. You know, if you constantly walk while speaking, then it becomes like a tennis match. People have to keep looking at you and they get tired. So sometimes you can move. Sometimes you can move your hands, gesture. So your posture, your movement, your gesture, all these are non-verbal communication. Then your facial expression, how you speak. Sometimes you are saying something serious and your expression is serious. You want to tell them a story or you want to tell them a joke, then your expression is lighter. In the classroom, you might find that I keep a serious expression most of the time because I'm talking about very important things. If I talk about important things and say, hello, I'm talking about very important things now, you will not think it is important. So, our neutral facial expression, our humorous facial expression, all these are important. That was point number 4. Now we move on to point number 5. And that is when you are speaking to a group of people, you must know what you are speaking about. That is called mastery of the subject. Mastery of the subject would mean that you know very well what you have to say. You know very well how you have to put across the points you want to put across. Unless you are familiar with all the points of the subject, unless you are confident that you will be able to speak on every aspect of the subject which you want, every detail of the subject is available to you, you will not be able to feel point number 1, that is confidence. You won't be able to change your voice modulation. You will be totally stiff. Your body language will show that you are very nervous. Therefore, please remember to have a mastery over the subject. As I told you, suppose you're making a speech for your political party. Then you have to know what is the vision and mission of the party. What is the work the party is doing for the good of the people? You need to highlight all this. Unless you know what the vision and mission are, unless you know for the last 10 years what your party has done, you will not have mastery over the subject. I remember in one of the comments, somebody asked that I have to speak at the function in school. So, how should I speak? Public speaking. I could not answer that comment in the comment box because I cannot tell you everything. I hope that person is watching this video and now you will know what I mean. Suppose it is a function which is, the sports day, the annual day, or the farewell party, or the freshers party. All these are situations where you might have in your college or school, where the best student is asked to give a speech, or the teacher is asked to speak. Then what do? You start by describing what this is. What is this function? And talk about the function as it is organized today, last year, year before last, the history of the function, the history of your college, the current report of your college. All these points you should know. If you do not know any of this, then you will hesitate. Then you will look at the paper. Good public speakers do not look at the script. Please remember this, that unless you have mastery of the subject, that means the ideas come from your mind to your lips. The thought and the word comes together. Simultaneously, both of them happen. It is not as though you think, you write, then you read it. Reading is no speaking at all. Great leaders, if you watch, you will get wonderful speeches on YouTube. You see how they speak, totally without any help of a script. That is called extempore. Extempore, Extempore. Extempore would mean that you are speaking without preparation. You are speaking immediately, automatically. Suppose you have to speak at a flag hoisting or your foundation day of your company, then you must know, why are we hoisting the flag? What is an Independence Day? Or if you're talking about your foundation of your company, what does your company do? Why do you celebrate this foundation day? Who is the founder of the company? All these details. That shows mastery over the subject. Now we move on to the next point, and that is point number 6. Point number 6 is practice. It is not easy to give a public speech unless you have practice. I remember the first time I had to speak to a large group of people, the hands were shivering, the lips were shivering, the tongue would not utter the words properly. Although I knew good English and I had good ideas, but nervousness was there. So practice. Before the occasion of public speaking, you need to practice again and again. I have told you that you can practice alone when you look at your own mirror. Take your mirror, stand in front of it, and practice. If you don't have a mirror, don't worry. You take your smartphone and you record the way you're speaking, then watch that recording again. If you have some members in your family, you have some hostel mates or paying guests sharing the same accommodation, speak in front of them. Ask them to tell you how you can improve. In this way, if you practice about 10 times, you will find that your speaking is become better. Now we move to the next point, and that is point number 7. Visual aids. Suppose you have a speech in a hall where there is possibility of a PowerPoint. You have some audio clips. So you have speakers and you can make the audio clips a part of your presentation. Suppose you are talking about the music of some great person. You are asked to speak at a musical program, give an introduction of 10 minutes. So before introducing the singers who are going to sing, you can also speak about some very important singers who have sung in this hall. Play a clip of, 1 minute or 30 seconds, some of the songs. For this, you need audio or you need visual aid. That is, you can play the video, 30 seconds video, and then everybody gets into the mood of the music. You are commenting and you are stopping your comment to show a slide or to show a clipping, and then you are continuing again. You must have coordination. When you're using visual aids, coordination is very important. You must not give a long gap, or you must not speak when the audio or video is going on. There'll be overlap of speaking. So, this also needs a lot of practice. If you are planning to use it, you have to check. We have many public speeches these days online. So if you're doing an online speaking where there are 200 people, then you might be able to show them by sharing the screen. That also you need to learn, because these days the digital world is in upon us and we have to learn all the digital skills. It is not enough if you speak good English. So the visuals which you're using, the audio which you're using should be excellent English. Your own presentation should coordinate with this, and all this should be good English. Then we move on to point number 8. That is, you need to give examples when you speak. You need to tell some stories also if you want. If you do this, then your speech is interesting. Visual aids, involves the audience. Similarly, if you use some stories or if you use some incidents of your own life, then it becomes very interesting. You say that when I was preparing this speech, suddenly I got an idea. I would like to share this idea with you. What are you doing? You are involving the listeners in your speech. You are saying you also might have got some ideas, so you also can give a public speech. Then you can talk about the difficulties by saying that, somebody who wanted to speak. There's a beautiful story of Demosthenes. Demosthenes was a Greek hero. He wanted to give a public speech, but he had a problem of stammering. Stammering would mean that all the sounds don't come in a series. Some sounds keep coming. You, instead of saying sound, you say sound. So that sound, sir comes many times, and then only you're able to say sound. So this problem he had. So how would you speak? How would he speak? Then what did he do? He put some pebbles, small stones in his mouth, and he started speaking slowly. Demosthenes became one of the great public speakers. So, if you give an example like this, today, because I'm talking about public speaking, I gave you this example. You can give other examples. You can talk about some interesting stories. In this way, if you highlight your speech, your public speaking becomes that much better. Now we come to point number 9, and that is audience skill. You must think that you are speaking for the audience. You are not speaking for self glorification. Suppose I want to teach English to myself, then why would I put a YouTube video? I'm trying to help all of you. And here, let me tell you that if somebody is asking you for money, please don't pay. It's a scam. I'm not asking any of you for any money. Therefore, when I'm preparing a video, it is for you. I have to remember that the video is not for me to enjoy myself. The video is for your benefit. If you're benefiting, that's wonderful. If you're not benefiting, you need to tell me that we did not get any benefit. That is the audience skill. The audience skill would also mean that you don't torture the audience. You don't trouble them. You have been given half an hour and you continue to speak for 1 hour. The audience gets bored. The audience gets restless. They don't want to see this. They don't want to hear your speech. Therefore, you have to be kind to the audience. You have to also, as I told you, use some humor. When you find that the audience is getting bored, tell a joke. Tell something which will involve them. They will all laugh. You can laugh with them and then continue the serious discussion. That is your audience skill. And then, of course, you have handling questions. When we are talking about handling questions, you must remember that the audience might ask you anything. It is not as though the audience will ask you prepared questions. You prepare 5 questions of which you know the answers and you distribute to your audience by saying, please don't ask me anything beyond these questions. That is not good public speaking. A public speaker must be willing to answer any and every question, even if there are questions which are negative, questions which are criticizing you by saying, I do not agree with you. This is the reason why I do not agree. Can you clarify? So you get angry by saying, oh, I do not agree. How can that be? That is not the right attitude for good public speaking. I have given you videos on questions and answers. So if you look at those videos of questions and answers, you can always find out what kind of a question word deserves what kind of a response. The material depends on you. Doesn't depend on what videos I have made. Depending on your speech, you should be able to talk about what exactly is being asked on the topic about the information you have given. But how to answer? Suppose you don't know the answer. That also is possible. Then let us be very honest. All of us cannot know everything. So the audience, somebody in the audience has asked you, you say, sorry, I'm not sure I know this answer. Maybe I shall find out and let you know. Or we can communicate further on this topic later. There is no harm in saying, I don't know. Many of us feel very shy, very, upset to say, sorry, I don't know. But please remember that all of us cannot know everything. There are many times where a teacher herself or a teacher himself has to tell the students, I don't know, I will find out and tell you. Nothing to be embarrassed in this. So, in public speaking, your ability to listen to the question, answer the question to the best of your ability, and then, try to say, I hope I have answered your question. I hope I could address your problem. These are the ways in which you end your question answer session. Then you give a small conclusion by saying that this is what I tried to do and summarize what you have said, say thank you, and end your speaking. This is how public speaking needs to be practiced. Now, why did I give you this video in Mastering English in 2025? I gave you this video because I want each one of you to choose one topic per day and speak about it for about 5 minutes, not 1 minute, but 5 minutes. And these 5 minutes should give you adequate practice. If you feel you're hesitant, if you find it difficult, then don't get worried. Practice makes you perfect. Think of all the 10 points and address them one by one in each of your speeches. Start with self-confidence and see how much confidence do you have. For 1 week, you do that exercise. Then you see the next point, the language competence. Are you able to speak correct English? Then you see the next one, voice modulation. Do you change your voice? Is the tone and the speed and the pauses correct? If you can do this practice, you will get benefited immensely. Thank you and all the best.